You're about to watch a video that YouTube doesn't want you to see. Okay, that might sound a bit dramatic, but a couple of you watching might know that this original video was essentially shot down from YouTube's algorithm. I was age restricted and I wasn't really left with any reasoning as to why. YouTube basically said, we don't like this video and we're not going to recommend it to people anymore. Also, we're not going to tell you why. This is a problem that YouTube has had for a while and honestly needs to fix, but rather than focusing on the negative, I would prefer to focus on the positive. I just want to say thank you to everybody in the Spacial community who's been riding with me and supporting this channel for the last 10 months. It's crazy to think that in less than a year, this channel has just grown so much, like way more than I ever thought it would. I also want to say thank you to my now YouTube peers and mentors, people like Pearl Fountain, Matt Miranda, FD Signifier, June Plug, and Wizpill. Also, major shout out to my 3 Patreon supporters. I got mad love for each one of y'all, swear. And of course, you guys will get my YouTube videos early before they drop on YouTube to the public. And if you want to join them, you can always sign up for my Patreon for only $3 a month or 75 cents a week. Just click the link below in the description. But anyway, without further ado, here is the 24 hours that changed Kendrick Lamar's life.
Lord God, I come to you a sinner, and I humbly repent.
I'm over to use the van real quick. Be back 15 minutes.
Please leave your message for 323.
Kendrick, where you at? Damn, you been here waiting on my van. You told me you was gonna be back in 15 minutes. Hello? What you doing?
Kicking it. I should have told her I'm probably about to catch my first offense.
Kendrick Lamar, formerly known as K.Dot, is known for being an ever-evolving artist. No studio album sounds similar sonically or thematically, although he is known for his trope of duality often playing as major themes in his work. To Pimp a Butterfly was filled with themes of contrast between self-love and self-hate as a black man in America. Damn was about the duality of man's thoughts and actions as he navigates between wicked and weak, forever cursed to a damn life. Mr. Brown and Big Steppers, while on the surface, yes, was a double album, but also had deeper themes of the battle between finding solace through therapy and spirituality versus tap dancing around the conversation or refusing to address his traumas that shaped him into the person that he is today. The thing that made Good Kid, m.A.A.d stand out was the fact that while essentially the album was about duality, at its core, it's an album about evolution and personal growth. The album tells the story of how K.Dot evolved into Kendrick Lamar and the trials of fire he had to go through to get there.
Good Kid, Mad City. It was a self-reflection. You know, my life, my neighborhood, people I grew up with, the transitioning from being in the dark place to being in a positive space.
And when people heard K.Dot, they was like, yo, the kid is dope, he can rap, but who is he? I mean, that went on for years. He's just another cat in the streets that can rap good, right? So I was like, you know what? I want people to know who I am as a person and what I represent. The best way to start it off is giving me my name change, my real name, something my mother been calling me for years.
It's always one of them niggas in school, you know what I mean? Nigga in the classroom and shit, when you trying to be good and shit, cause you want to get like a good grade, and then your homeboys fucking with you to say some crazy shit. That's that nigga right there.
I be intrigued how, you know, these people are singing these lyrics. You know, when the album first came out, they would sing these lyrics, and I say to myself, how do y'all, you know, connect with these lyrics and you're not even from Compton? I sat back and I was talking to a person, you know, that was at the show, he was a fan, and he said it does more, you know, than just saying you're from the streets or you did this and did that. I was in a dark place. I'm in a positive space. That's the concept that I got from the album, and I said, you're right.
Kendrick Lamar's commitment to artistic growth and innovation as an artist is evident in his discography. He continually pushes the boundaries of hip-hop and surprises his listeners with each new project. But none of this would ever be possible if K.Dot never made the life-changing decision to come into his own and be Kendrick Lamar. So let's dive in and take a deep look into the incredible story that is Good Kid, Mad City. Good Kid, m.A.A.d City at its core is a coming-of-age story describing the journey of how K.Dot became Kendrick Lamar. Throughout the album, Kendrick weaves a narrative that takes us on a journey through his experiences and personal conflicts, diving into peer pressure, gang violence, drug abuse, and the desire for spiritual and personal growth. The acronym m.A.A.d City in the title Good Kid, m.A.A.d City has two meanings: My Angry Adolescents Divided and My Angels on Angel Dust.
First one is My Angry Adolescents Divided. The basic standout meaning is My Angels on Angels Dust. And
I've been curious about that answer too, man.
that's the reason why I don't smoke.
So you knew somebody on Angel Dust?
No, that was me.
You?
That the guy laced.
Oh.
Reason why I don't smoke, and it's in that album.
With the acronym My Angels on Angel Dust, Kendrick gives a foreshadow to what happens in the story, getting laced with angel dust from smoking weed. The acronym My Angry Adolescents Divided represents the dichotomy between the desire to lead a righteous life as a good kid and the challenges and temptations presented by the harsh realities of living in Compton or the m.A.A.d City. When you look at the album cover, it tells us a couple things about Kendrick and the story we're about to embark on. The cover shows baby Kendrick being held by his uncle who's throwing up gang signs at a table with liquor bottles next to his baby bottles. This visually portrays the environment and reality that Kendrick was put into since birth.
Two of my uncles, to the far right, it's my grandpa, and a baby bottle next to a 40 ounce, next to a gang sign, holding a kid. Like this is, it's not just music to me. This is a story about, you know, the youth and people that they call delinquents, you know, in my city.
The other thing that we can notice on the album cover is the fact that it says Good Kid, m.A.A.d City, a short film by Kendrick Lamar. The album itself was written like a short film, from the descriptive narrative of the lyrics to the interlude sprinkled throughout the project, even down to the way the project was put together. In a line from Punch, from TDE, he says, "The goal was to make the album in the vein of a Tarantino movie, where scenes aren't in chronological order, but it flows cohesively." The album begins with a cold opening into K.Dot's world, flash forwarding to where he meets a girl named Sherane at a party and exchange numbers. She's important to the story, but we'll get back to her in a second. The first verse of the album you hear is a group of young men reciting what's called the Sinner's Prayer.
I received Jesus to take control of my life.
This prayer is used by Christians to repent their sins and receive Jesus Christ as their Savior. After the opening prayer is over, giving us a sense of purity, it's immediately contrasted by these haunting vocals that start to creep into the track over top a heavy bass line, auditorily displaying this sense of danger and darkness, inching its way into the project. Our ears magnetize to this sound as an instinctual sense of survival. We know something is inherently wrong, but we can't exactly put our fingers on it just yet. Kendrick then goes on to tell a story from the perspective of K.Dot about going to a party, meeting a girl named Sherane, and flirting with her.
"Hello, my name is Kendrick." She said, "No, you're handsome."
While talking to Sherane, K.Dot finds out that she lives in East Compton, an area of Compton that Kendrick isn't from. This detail becomes important later on, but she quickly changed the subject.
"Well, it's a Compton." "No," she replied, then quickly started batting her eyes and strictly had one of her thighs around me.
K.Dot, only talking to her because she was attracted to her sexually, asks to exchange numbers, and they end up talking all throughout the suburb.
She didn't tell, just gave me her Nextel, dropped the number, we chirped the whole summer, and well,
for those who don't know, a Nextel was a popular phone in the early 2000s.
The summer had passed and now I'm liking her. Conversation we having probably enticing her. Who can imagine? Maybe my actions will end up wifing her.
While originally K.Dot only started talking to Sherane out of pure sexual interest, over the summer they actually start to catch feelings for each other through texting, and Kendrick even considers the thought of marrying her. While learning more about Sherane over the summer, K.Dot learns about her family history with her mom being a crack addict. This is said in the past tense, alluding to the fact that she's already succumbed to her addiction and passed away. This leaves Sherane living with her grandmother and two younger brothers. He also learns that she has heavy gang ties in her family, with her cousin being an infamous gang member. Even with all this information about her life making K.Dot skeptical, he overlooks it on his pursuit for sex.
Her favorite cousin Demetrius is a reputable family history of gang banging did make me skeptical, but not enough to stop me from getting a nut. I wanna come over, what's up?
He says that he's going to leave his house to go visit her after he finishes watching an episode of Martin. Kendrick has expressed his love for Martin in the past, using this show as a skit on the track PMP 1.5 from his Overly Dedicated mixtape.
"Gina, baby, I don't have no money. I don't have no end. Gina, I'm ass out." I done told you that.
Kendrick even walked out of an interview when an interviewer wasn't familiar with the show Martin.
Wait, what'd you say?
Watch Martin, episodes of Martin.
What's Martin?
And Fruity Pebbles. Martin.
Martin?
Lawrence, Martin.
Oh, I'm not aware, but I know Fruity Pebbles. Oh,
It's at this point where K.Dot takes his mom's car keys to her Dodge Caravan, which is shown on the deluxe version of the album cover, through Rosecrans or the east side of Compton, where Sharane's from. While driving to Sharane's house, K.Dot daydreams about what's going to happen when he arrives, while she sends him seductive pictures of herself.
Thinking about her thighs, or maybe kissing on her neck, or maybe what position's next. Sent a picture of her titties blowing up my text. I looked at them and almost ran my front bumper into Corvette.
As K.Dot gets closer to her house, his anticipation builds up. First 2 blocks away, then 250 feet, finally 6 steps away or right outside of her house, where he can see Sherane waving for him outside of the door. Then suddenly he's detoured by a harsh reality.
I pulled up, a smile on my face, and then I see 2 niggas, 2 black hoodies. I froze as my phone rang.
Suddenly, 2 hooded men walk up to K.Dot's car, possibly gang members or maybe Sharane's brothers or cousins were waiting for him, which was foreshadowed in the beginning of the track. At the same time, he gets a phone call which he can't answer because of the situation he found himself in. It's at this moment that we're left wondering what happens because the song switches to the voicemail left from the phone call that K.Dot missed.
Please leave your message for 323. Record your message after the tone.
Kendrick, where you at? Damn, I'm sitting here waiting on my van. You told me you was gonna be back in 15 minutes.
It's revealed that the missed phone call was from K.Dot's mom wondering where he went with the car, and she needed it to pick up food stamps from the county building. His mom then expresses her concerns and skeptical feelings for Sherane.
I hope you ain't out there messing with them damn hood rats out there, shit. Especially that crazy ass girl Sherane.
The next line gives context to the title of the track, Sherane aka Master Splinter's daughter. Master Splinter is a character from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a human-like rat who was the sensei to the Ninja Turtles. Calling Sherane Master Splinter's daughter alludes to the fact that she herself is a rat like Master Splinter, or more specifically a hood rat. K.Dot's dad then picks up the phone, agitated, asks where his dominoes are because K.Dot keeps misplacing them.
Keep fucking around in them streets, you ain't gonna pass to the next grade, 11th grade.
Is that Kendrick on the phone?
The daddy calling about some damn dominoes. He wanna holler at you too. Go ahead, Kenny. Go on. Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, where my motherfucking dominoes at?
Kenny.
What?
I'm on his voicemail. Damn fool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, where my motherfucking dominoes at?
The next track of the project, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, doesn't necessarily progress the story in any way, and it's told from the perspective of present-day Kendrick Lamar, where he describes his intentions that he had with the project. The track has a very chill West Coast vibe to it, sampling the boom clap bachelors, and the content of the lyrics is Kendrick really expressing his distaste for the current state of hip-hop, saying that both is killing his vibe, so in response he's going to kill the vibe and the change of hip-hop that he's seeing with the album. He expresses this with lines like, look inside of my soul and you can find gold and maybe get rich. Look inside of your soul and you can find out and never exist. Towards the end of the song, we're met with a skit hearing K.Dot's friends pick him up in a white Toyota that sets up the scene for the next story.
K.Dot, get in the car, nigga. Come on, we're finna roll out. Nigga, I got a pack of blacks and a beat CD.
The track Backseat Freestyle is just that, a freestyle from a 16-year-old K.Dot in the back of a car. In this song we hear K.Dot rapping in the most extreme, braggadocious bars he can think of, being overly loud and obnoxious with his homies.
All my life I want money and power, take my mind on destination. I bring my ticket big as the apple top, so I can get the world presented into us.
This is something we don't normally hear from Kendrick. His bars are usually more introspective and thoughtful, but this track is to serve as a look into 16-year-old K.Dot's mindset at the time. In an interview with Genius, Kendrick states, "That's just me capturing the moment and being 16 and saying the most outlandish shit when you're around your homeboys or you're around whoever. You know you don't really care what you're talking about. That's just the type of way we used to talk." On the art of peer pressure, the story truly begins, or at least starts from the beginning, and it's here where we see how things start to lead up to Kendrick getting pressed outside of Sharane's house. I like to think of the first 3 tracks as the world building of the album, so we have an understanding of K.Dot's mindset and the environment that he's in.
Everybody sit your bitch ass down and listen to true motherfucking story told by Kendrick Lamar Rosecrans.
This song introduces K.Dot's internal conflicted monologue he's constantly has while growing up in Compton. K.Dot is literally a good kid in a mad city. While on the outside he's running around with his friends, committing crimes and doing drugs, on the inside he's far removed from this lifestyle and only participates out of pure peer pressure. In the course of the song, he ends every line with "But I'm with the homies."
Smoking on the finest dope, drinking till I can't no more. Really, I'm a sober, but I'm with the homies right now.
He also speaks on how his mom knows this and warns that this lifestyle will eventually get the best of him or burn him out and lead to more serious consequences.
Hey, mama used to say, one day it's gonna burn you out.
K.Dot and his homies are now in a white Toyota he was picked up and driving around looking for trouble after playing basketball at the park. He describes how the negative aura he and his homies have is so strong it could be a detriment to anyone they come into contact with.
Well, I hope the universe love you today, cause the energy we bring is sure to carry away a flock of positive activists that fill their body with hate.
K.Dot and his homies are hotboxing the car as they drive around, and the smoke is so thick he can't see anything but a hand passing him a blunt. Usually he doesn't smoke, but shit, he's with the homies. So K.Dot unknowingly smokes a blunt that's laced with cocaine.
The windows roll down, all I see is a hand pass it, hotboxing like George Foreman, grilling the masses.
After riding around for the better part of the day, K.Dot and his homies find themselves in Westchester, a nicer suburban area, selling drugs and talking to girls, when K.Dot says,
"It's 2:30 and the sun is beaming, air conditioner broken, I hear my stomach screaming."
The bar ends at 2:30, playing on how it's 2:30 in the song and 2:30 in the story. While talking to girls in Westchester, they spot 3 guys in opposing gang colors and start to interrogate them. In an interview with Hip Hop DX, Kendrick says, "My whole family is Crips and Pyrus. I always had that right there, but out of respect for my pops, I never jumped into the gang life that was around me, just out of respect for him." In the next lines of the song, it almost sounds like K.Dot's inner monologue is stuttering as he again comes at a crossroads with being a good kid in a mad city and living up to the lifestyle that his friends and his environment pushes on him.
I never was a gangbanger, I mean I never was stranger to the funk neither.
But in the end, K.Dot dives deeper into the gangbanging lifestyle, singing,
"Rush a nigga quick and then we laugh about it. That's ironic, cause I never been violent until I'm with the homies."
In the hook of the song, K.Dot and his homies are driving away from the scene after beating up the group of guys they encounter. It's here where K.Dot starts to notice something is wrong when he says,
"Just riding, me and the homies."
K.Dot starts to realize that he's higher than he expected to be.
The homies bullshitting, acting a fool.
He starts to slur his words of just riding, and he gets to the realization that he's been laced, but it's too late.
Me and the homies tripping.
K.Dot's friends don't feel remorse for what they did at all and instead praise themselves for it. K.Dot, on the other hand, takes a shot of Hennessy to cope with the crime he just committed, trying not to be a buzzkill to his friends.
Bragging about the episode we just had, a shot of Hennessy didn't make me feel that bad.
He then begins to contemplate karma and if what he's done will come back to haunt him in one way or another. While in the midst of his thoughts, the white Toyota pulls up to a house. K.Dot and his homies have been scouting out a house full of valuables for months so they could rob it, and today was the perfect day for them to go in and take everything they could as the sun was starting to go down and it appeared that the owner wasn't there, so they took a chance.
Pull in front of the house that we've been camping out for like 2 months. The sun is going down as we take whatever we want.
While in the process of robbing a house, one of K.Dot's homies yell out,
"Hey nigga, I think somebody in this room."
Wait, what?
Nigga, it's somebody in this room.
The 2 months of planning that they had put in went to waste, so K.Dot and the gang frantically grabbed anything that they could and quickly try to make their escape in the Toyota, only to find that they're being chased by a cop car.
We made a right, they made a left, they made a right, they made a left. We was just circling life.
The turning is a clear metaphor describing the lack of direction K.Dot and his homies had while making decisions without much thought and really not having any progress in life. K.Dot and his homies get a strike of luck when the cops chasing them make a wrong turn and they escape.
But they made a right, they made a left, they made a right, then another right. One lucky night with the homies.
The song then cuts to the gang coming up with an alibi so they aren't suspect for any robbery if this comes up later, when one of his friends says,
"Hey, you faded up?" "Yeah, we finally got that nigga faded." "Ooh, really on there." "I think we hit the wrong blunt."
They come to the conclusion that he smoked a blunt with the shenanigans in it or the one that was laced with PCP.
Well, which one you talking about? I hope he hit the one with the shenanigans in. I'm pretty he hit that.
After going back and forth, the gang comes up with their story and they all decide to roll out in the Toyota to get into more trouble.
Matter of fact, nigga, get the motherfucking car. We finna get out.
The next two songs, Money Trees and Poetic Justice, are songs essentially about temptation and the various ways it can manifest, whether money or sexual pleasure or something else. In an interview with Complex, Kendrick speaks on the idea of money trees. After the ride of going on the Art of Peer Pressure, you listen to that, and that was the mind state of thinking everything was about $1. That's where we were all the time. Everything was about money. We didn't care about nothing else, truly. On the track Money Trees, K.Dot recaps everything that happened in the story so far when he says,
"Hit that house, like tell me is you with it, you bitch, yeah bitch. Home invasion was persuasive, was persuasive, was persuasive. From 9 to 5, I know it's vacant, yeah bitch."
He's referring to the previous track, The Art of Peer Pressure, when a gang robbed a house that they were scouting out. Then he talks about his sexual experiences with Sherane, saying,
"I fucked Sherane and went to tell my bros, Then the Sherane and Let It Burn came on,
Regarding saying Let Burn came on, Kendrick talks about it in an interview with Genius, saying, "That was a metaphor for both. Not saying that I actually had an STD, but that was the consequence I could have gotten with messing with someone like Sherane." He then references freestyling in the back of the white Toyota from Backseat Freestyle, saying,
"Park the car, then we start rhyming, yeah bitch."
He's saying this alluding to the fact that this was K.Dot's escape from his harsh reality. Finally, he recalls jumping that group of guys that were wearing opposing gang colors in Westchester, saying,
"Then freeze that verse when we see dollar signs. You looking like an easy come up, yeah bitch. Yeah bitch."
Interestingly enough, in the chorus of the song, K.Dot actually foreshadows a death when he says,
"Everybody go respect the shooter, but the one in front of the gun lives forever."
He says this speaking on the fact that while the shooter may get attention temporarily for committing a murder, it's the person who was killed that ironically gets immortalized, honored, and remembered forever. Kendrick expanded on his thought process about this in an interview with The Guardian, saying, "You don't hear no artist from Compton showing vulnerability. You always hear about the person pulling the trigger. You never hear about the one in front of it. That's the most interesting story to me." This bar is also reminiscent of a line Nas had on his track One Love. It's no secret that Kendrick studied Nas, so I wouldn't be surprised if we got inspiration for this line in that song. This track also has a feature from TDE's J Rock, which he absolutely kills in my opinion. There's actually a part 2 of the song on Rock's album 90059. Back to Money Trees, the track ends with another voicemail from K.Dot's mom. She updates him on what's going on back at the house, and in the background you can hear K.Dot's dad smoking weed and singing to his mom before the next track begins.
"I want your body, cause of that big old fat ass girl."
See, as hell. Shit, he ain't even tripping off them dominoes no more. Just bring the car back.
Did somebody say domino?
The track Poetic Justice at its core is a conversation between two guys and a cautionary tale of dealing with promiscuous women from the perspective of K.Dot and a friend who was played by Drake. In an interview with Genius, Kendrick speaks on having Drake as a sample. "Me and Drake have been working for a while off the fact that I was on his tour and I was on Take Care. We were talking about what joints we wanted to do when Scoop shot me a track. I immediately came up with the concept of doing that vibe, and the person I had in mind was Drake. Drake killed it and the part came out crazy. Personally, I feel like that was the perfect feature for this song, but my favorite feature on this album was easily J Rock on Money Trees. The track starts with K.Dot in a deep voice saying, "Every second, every minute, man, I swear that she can get it." The first lines of this song shows a young K.Dot allure to attractive woman, and the vocal distortion in the intro making his voice deeper audibly displays how deep he's in with Sherane and the emotion of lust in general. When K.Dot says,
"If I told you that a flower bloomed in a dark room, would you trust
he's
it?"
comparing Sherane to the flower in a dark room, saying he sees the flower and how beautiful it is, but he's completely oblivious to its surroundings and its background because of the darkness of the room. So he's asking, do you trust it and pick the flower, or do you just stay away? On the flip side, he then expresses he's not all too transparent either, saying,
"You're in the mood for empathy, it's blood in my pen."
Meaning, even when Sherane would open up about the deeper sides of her being from a broken home and how she wasn't taught how to deal with men, K.Dot's attention was still heavily skewed towards his sexual relationship with her. The track speaks to the blindness men have when on the pursuit for sex. He's revealing the fact that he really isn't thinking about the situation situation with Sherane. In fact, he's probably underthinking it, which would eventually come back to hurt him. K.Dot then describes Sherane's desire for living a carefree life, saying,
"You called up your girlfriends and y'all curled in that little bitty range, I heard that."
Saying little bitty range, K.Dot is painting a picture of Sherane with her friend in the back of a smaller luxury car. He then says she wanna go and party, she wanna go and party, alluding to Sherane's desire to escape from reality. He could have only said this once, but saying she wants to go and party twice really emphasizes that there's a burning longing that she has for this lifestyle. These lines create tension between Sherane's desires and her reality. The name of the song, Poetic Justice, is used as a literary device, speaking on how your characters in a situation will ultimately either be punished or rewarded poetically. K.Dot repeatedly ignored both major red flags Sherane had, as well as her attempt for a strong emotional connection. So when K.Dot blindly goes to see Sherane for the sex he was after, he is instead greeted by the two men in hoodies and gets jumped. It's also worth noting that in the music video for Poetic Justice, when the chorus says "you can get it," the lyrics are complemented with scenes of K.Dot getting caught up in a drive-by, meaning you can get it in the sense of being killed at any time in Compton, as well as you can get it in the sense of you're attractive and you can get it. The next verse is from Drake speaking on a relationship with his ex. He describes planning expensive trips for her and her mother, only to find out that she cheated on him. Even though he wants to take her back, he's certain that she'll receive her own poetic justice when she realizes what she missed out on. The first two verses serve as a back and forth conversation between K.Dot and his friend, talking about girls, venting about life in a perspective from the two sides of the same coin. Both K.Dot and Drake ultimately being blinded by the allure of a woman and the pursuit of sex. In the third verse of the song, K.Dot contemplates the meaning of love, saying, "Love is not just a verb, it's you looking in a mirror. Love is not just a verb, it's you looking for it." He says this speaking on the subject of self-love and wanting romantic love to come for you rather than chasing it. He spins on these themes later with the track Real. Suddenly the song then brings back these ghostly vocals that we were introduced to on the first track, Sherane aka Master Splinter's daughter. And it's here where we pick back up to where the two hooded men were walking up to K.Dot's car.
One more time, homie. Where's you from? Hey, where is a problem?
K.Dot stays quiet to avoid confrontation as he's away from his own hood. Saying the wrong thing could escalate the situation for him. The two men eventually come to the conclusion that he might be there for Sherane.
Hey, you over here for Sherane, homie? I don't care who this nigga over here for. You don't tell me where he's from. It's a rat.
Then K.Dot, still not saying a word, eventually has his luck run out. It's at this moment when K.Dot gets jumped that he comes to the conclusion that he needs to get the hell out of Compton.
Hold on. We're gonna do it like this, okay? I'm gonna tell you where I'm from, okay? You're gonna tell me where you from, okay? Or where your grandma stay, where your mama stay, or where your daddy stay, okay? All this talking. As a matter of fact, get out the van, homie. Get out the car before I snatch you out that motherfucker, homie.
The end of the song, Poetic Justice, triggers a major theme in the album, which is realization. And the next two tracks of the project, Good Kid and m.A.A.d City, jump right into that theme from an internal and external point of view, and essentially serve as the climax to K.Dot's story and his treacherous journey to Kendrick Lamar. The track Good Kid, produced by Pharrell Williams, happens immediately after K.Dot gets pulled out of his mom's van. This is the starting point of K.Dot's realization that he needs to get out of Compton, but obviously that's easier said than done. The tracks Good Kid and m.A.A.d City are two sides of the same coin, effectively working as two parts of the same song from the perspective of within and the external, respectively. The track Good Kid begins with a haunting beat, these ghoul-like vocals and racing bass line. This audibly paints a picture of K.Dot's mind that's currently in a frenzy, overcome with reality. In a sense, he's waking up. Then the first lines double down on this, stating,
"Mass hallucination, baby. Ill education, baby."
Mass hallucination, ill education. K.Dot is waking up to the facade that he's been fed growing up in Compton. With the youth so easily falling into the traps that the city provided, he realizes that this is all just a hallucination that he was under.
Look inside these walls and you see him having withdrawals of a prisoner on his way, trapped inside your desire to fire bullets that stray.
He's inviting us into his mind. As people, we tend to put up these walls, hiding our true feelings, reactions, or intentions, either for survivability or for something else. K.Dot at this moment is letting these walls down to allow us to see that he's scared, that he wants to escape this environment, while also trying to cleanse himself from his influences. Despite the mask he may put on, in front of his homies or to the outside world. K.Dot continues to voice his frustration of being a good kid in Compton, describing being caught in the middle of gang violence even though he's not a Blood or a Crip.
But what am I supposed to do when the topic is red or blue and you understand that I ain't, but know I'm accustomed to?
Even though K.Dot himself wasn't a part of a gang, he had friends who were Bloods and friends who were Crips. This caused his friends who were gang affiliated to question which side he was on, and also caused him to get jumped on both sides. He then paints a picture of this exact situation happening.
No better picture to paint than me walking from Bible study and called his homies because he had said he noticed my face from a function that took in place. They was wondering if I banged.
Rolling during these random acts of violence he was subject to, K.Dot found solace in the fact that the same people who are jumping him now will eventually respect him for his impact that he'll make on the world.
Step on my neck and get blood on your Nike checks. I don't mind, cause one day you respect the good kid, m.A.A.d city.
The second verse of the track is structurally the same as the first verse, but K.Dot raps about his issues with the police instead of dealing with gang violence.
All I see is strobe lights blinding me in my hindsight.
After K.Dot gets jumped, the cops show up, both blinding him because of the bright lights in his face and blinding him from telling the police about what happened, which he only realizes in hindsight when he says,
"In all honesty, I got time to be copacetic until you have finally made decision to hold me against my will."
Copacetic meaning everything is in excellent order. K.Dot uses this really uncommon word specifically to play on the word cop, because everything was fine until he found himself handcuffed for not speaking to the police about what happened, even though he personally did nothing wrong.
It was like a head-on collision that folded me standing still.
Describing the harassment from the police as a head-on collision, K.Dot feels like the gang violence and the police brutality he endures as a good kid is a metaphor for being as damaging as a horrific car crash. K.Dot is stuck in this inner struggle filled with tension as he tries to become a better person, but his environment won't let him prosper, even if his intentions are good.
Every time you clock in the morning, I feel you just want to kill all my innocence while ignoring my purpose to persevere as a better person. I know you heard this and probably in fear.
He describes situations of hiding from the police, which shows that he's constantly on the lookout for cops out of fear of what will come from an encounter with them.
But what am I supposed to do when the blinking of red and blue flash from the top of your roof?
Just like the first verse, the colors red and blue signify danger to K.Dot, leading him to getting jumped, but this time from the police, saying,
"I heard them chatter, he's probably young, but I know that he's down. Step on his neck as hard as your bulletproof vest."
The only difference between getting jumped by a gang and getting jumped by the police to K.Dot is the fact that he can at least have the ease of mind that one day he'll be respected by the gangs after he fulfills his mission, but the police system will never respect him.
Yes, he don't mind, he know we never respect the good kid, m.A.A.d city.
This line proved to be true, as Kendrick stated in multiple interviews that he's happy he can walk around anywhere in Compton and be completely fine, if not respected. But on the other hand, the cops...
Not helpful at all. This is why I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism in recent years. This is exactly the wrong message.
It's also notable that when speaking about gangs in the American police system, you really can't tell the difference between the two. In the third verse of the song, K.Dot is explaining that if you keep pushing and beating the good kid will eventually snap.
All I see in this room, 20 Xannies in these rooms, grown up candy for pain. Can we live in the same?
It's notable that K.Dot's voice becomes high-pitched when he says this, likely meaning that at this point he's high now to numb the pain.
I quietly hope for change when violence is the rhythm inspired me to obtain the silence in this room with 20 Xannies and shrooms.
I always really loved this line and how it plays on the contrast of silence and noise. K.Dot is quietly hoping for change, but the pain is the rhythm and it's entirely too loud. Remember, this track is playing on the inside of K.Dot's head. We're just listening to his thought process while all of these things happen to him. K.Dot results in silencing the pain or his thoughts with various drugs. While these drugs are slowly starting to take effect throughout the final verse, K.Dot gets his last thoughts out saying,
"I feel it's nothing to lose, the street's sure to release the worst side of my best. Don't mind, cause now you will pay your debt to good kid, m.A.A.d city."
At this point, filled with so many conflicting emotions from the first two verses and drugged up from the third verse, he decides to succumb to the streets, basically saying that if you can't beat them, then join them, letting go of the good kid title. It's also worth noting that this song has no profanity in it, pushing forward the good kid narrative. He then says, "Don't mind cause you're ever in debt to the good kid, m.A.A.d city." Back on the track The Art of Peer Pressure, K.Dot was in deep thought about karma. He feels that Compton will forever be in debt to him for taking his childhood and using him as a human sacrifice. He speaks on how he feels like he's Compton's human sacrifice in the next song. m.A.A.d City is the external side of K.Dot, what he's showing and what his actions are, rather than what he's thinking and feeling internally after getting jumped in front of Sherane's house. Sonically, this is the turn up side of the two-part song. The track starts off with no beat. We only hear K.Dot's voice holding this dark undertone to it, which contrasts the high-pitched undertone on Good Kid, showing the difference between what he thinks internally is more innocent, but on the external he has to be almost demonic when he presents himself. The gunshot ad-lib is from Schoolboy Q, and he's known for saying this often, like on the track Unnecessary by Childish Gambino.
Knock, knock, who could it be, niggas? So I got it on lock. Yak, yak.
K.Dot then starts first verse of the track saying, it's important to note that again, K.Dot's voice has changed, taking on this scratchy, anxious delivery. I feel like this use of falsetto on his voice is used to audibly show where K.Dot is at when it's happened. He's literally a kid, and the nervous, high-pitched voice mimic his adolescence. When K.Dot describes how everything went down, he uses his homies' street names instead of their real names to fit with the gang theme of the song. He also protects the anonymity of the victims of crimes when he says, Kendrick spoke on this in an interview with Genius saying, I'm bleeping out a name. These stories are serious and in-depth. I'm not going to go out here and really slander and put my real ones out there that have been in some real situations. It's just about me seeing someone get killed just as a kid and being right there. He then goes on to describe the lifestyle that he had to quickly adapt to and live through. After speaking on Rampage and denying any truths that may come his way, K.Dot ends the first verse saying, this line is interesting because while you can interpret it as K.Dot saying it's backwards to own a gun because of the negative energy that will come to you resulting in needing the gun and you eventually need to call a doctor, you can also interpret the line meaning that the gun he's referencing, a Tech 9, literally isn't big enough to protect you and you might as well get a chopper if you want to survive. Either way, you need to call a doctor, so if you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But K.Dot sums it up in the last line of the verse simply by saying, the track then goes into this hard-hitting beat switch and mAAD introduces the second part of the song.
Wake your punk ass up. It ain't nothing but a Compton thing.
We're then reminded about K.Dot's youth when he says,
fresh out of school cause I was a high school grad. Sleeping in the living room of my mama's pad.
With the same scratchy, high-pitched delivery as the first verse, this line is also a clear interpretation of Ice Cube's A Bird in the Hand.
Fresh out of school cause I was a high school grad. Got to get a job cause I was a high school dad.
K.Dot then goes on to reminisce when his dad advised him to get a job instead of being in the streets.
Pop said I needed a job, I thought I believed him. Security guard for a month and ended up leaving.
In an interview with Genius, Kendrick speaks on this event saying, my pops was like, you gotta go get a job, so I went and got a job. The easiest job I could find that was on the market for like a week at the truck stop. They had all this cargo and stuff there, and the first day I got there, I already was scheming on how I wanted to get this stuff up out of these trucks. K.Dot then raps about getting laced.
Cocaine laced in. And they wonder why I really smoke now. Imagine if your first blunt had you foaming at the mouth.
In the same interview with Genius, Kendrick says, this is basically me accepting where I'm at now. I totally adapted to it and I'm numb to it. On the last line of the verse, he expresses how he feels that all these events he's gone through are the manifestation of a human sacrifice that K.Dot has to be for his city.
Kendrick, aka Compton's human sacrifice.
In an interview with Interview Magazine, Erykah Badu interviews Kendrick asking him about that line. Badu, you called yourself Compton's human sacrifice on m.A.A.d City. What have you done in your life to make you feel that way? Lamar. Probably one of the hardest things to do was to actually do something positive coming from that space. It was so easy for me to dabble in everything else that my homeboys was doing, just being in the middle of the fire. So I felt that was the sacrifice for me to come out of that and do something positive. On the final verse, we hear K.Dot's voice switch up yet again, still slightly high pitched, but this time you can't help but sense a certain stillness to it, symbolizing this acceptance. Gone is the raspy and scared K.Dot. After witnessing and enduring all of these events laid out in m.A.A.d City, we now begin to see the genesis of his character evolution.
If I told you I killed a nigga at 16, would you believe me? Or see me to be innocent Kendrick you seen in the street?
He says this saying that he's portrayed as the good kid so much that nobody would even believe him if he said he killed someone himself.
What you say my intelligence now is great relief, and it's safe to say that our next generation maybe can sleep with dreams of being a lawyer, doctor.
With these lines, a couple things start to happen. First, we realize that K.Dot has broken the fourth wall of the story, and he's actually talking to us, the listener, and asking even if he killed someone when he was young, would we be relieved to see how his intelligence led to his success as a rapper. We also notice that his voice modulation is getting deeper, darker, and more distorted over time, symbolizing this very same crash from the end of the track Good Kid into engulfing the lifestyle that the m.A.A.d City imposes on those who live in its walls.
Instead of boy with a chopper, they hold the codice like hostage, kill them all if they gossip, the children of the corn, saving their lives on the option.
With his voice fully distorted here, we realize K.Dot is completely stripping himself of the Good Kid title. Fed up of feeling hopeless, fed up of being kicked around by everything and everyone in the city. Then the verse ends with K.Dot saying,
Live inside the belly, had the rough, Compton, USA, made me an angel and angel dust. What?
Considering how he described himself as Compton's sacrifice, being the good kid, him saying angel and angel dust further speaks to the fact that the good kid is now dead. The track ends with K.Dot meeting with his homies like they planned on money trees after getting beat up in front of Sharane's house. K.Dot's homies try to help him get his mind off of everything by offering him some alcohol.
Nigga, pass Dot the bottle. Damn, you ain't the one that got fucked up. Dot, you good, my nigga? Don't even trip. Just lay back and drink that.
Swim Pools, while sonically sounds like a club banger, really speaks on navigating the intersections of peer pressure and alcoholism. Kendrick speaks on the inspiration of this song in an interview with Complex, saying, "What better way to make something universal than to speak about drinking? I'm coming from a household where you had to make a decision. You were either a casual drinker or you were a drunk." That's what the record is really about. Me experiencing that as a kid and making my own decisions. The first verse of the song is from the perspective of K.Dot as a kid watching his family around him.
Okay, I grew around some people living their life in bottle. Granddaddy had the golden flask. Every day in Chicago.
Here he's saying that he grew up watching his family overdrink, using his grandfather backstroking as a metaphor for swimming in a pool of alcohol. He then speaks on the multiple avenues that can lead the youth to a reality like this, like his grandfather's.
Some people like the way you feel. They wanna kill their sorrow. They wanna fit in with the popular. What's my problem?
The course of the track speaks on the peer pressure many young people face regarding drinking while growing up.
Tell me why you're babysitting. 2 or 3 shots. I'll show you how to turn it up a notch.
The second half of the song is now from the perspective of K.Dot as a teenager and takes an interesting approach. We now hear the voice of K.Dot's conscience speaking to him.
Now open your mind up and listen me, Kendrick. I am your conscience. If you do not hear me, then you will be history, Kendrick.
K.Dot's conscience is warning him that he's taking his body for granted when he drinks excessive amounts of alcohol. When his conscience says, "If you do not hear me, then you'll be history," he's referring to K.Dot dying from alcohol poisoning. But this warning is ignored when K.Dot shuts his conscience up, saying,
"If I take another one down, I'ma drown in some poison, abuse on my limit."
This small discourse between K.Dot and his conscience shows how powerful peer pressure is. He knows that if he continues down this road, it'll most likely lead to death, but he still listens to his friends instead. Down this path, K.Dot finds himself overly intoxicated and drowning in this swimming pool of alcohol in the interlude.
Where is she taking? Where is she?
While drunk, he faintly hears the name of Sherane, symbolizing how he's still under the allure of pleasure, and the last verse of the song can be interpreted as a drunk K.Dot rapping.
All I have in life is my new appetite for failure, and I got hunger, pain that grow insane.
While drunk, K.Dot is relishing in his failures rather than looking for solutions to help his situation, saying that he literally has hunger pains for this newfound appetite for failure. He suddenly throws up, releasing all the drugs and alcohol that he's taken throughout the day.
There's the window open, I release everything that corrode inside of me.
This line is symbolic of the pain and negativity that's been sitting and festering inside of him. When K.Dot throws up, it just makes his friends laugh because they don't think it's doing him any harm, even though he's on the verge of alcohol poisoning.
I see you joking while you laugh, don't you feel bad? I probably sleep and never have a wake up. Never have a wake up. Never ever wake up, in God I trust.
The last line of the song plays as a double entendre.
But just when I thought I had enough.
The first being, even after throwing up and having this experience, K.Dot hasn't had enough and he's going to keep drinking. And the second meaning that he's had enough for the day, but shit's about to get worse, leading into the next skit.
They stopped the homie out over a bitch? Get out, you good, lad?
K.Dot and his homies, Day, Dave, and Dave's brother, are riding around in the city looking for revenge on the two guys who jumped him. Day suggests that they should drop K.Dot off at home, but the idea is immediately turned down by Dave's brother.
Yo, we could drop it back off. That nigga straight, man. That nigga ain't tripping.
After Dave's brother turns down the idea, he details the plans to get revenge is just to shoot warning shots so the two guys would run in the opposite direction and get jumped.
We're gonna do the same old shit. I'm gonna pop a few shots, they gonna run opposite way, fall right in his lap. And he gonna tear their ass up, simple as that.
And I hope that bitch that set him up out there, we gonna pop that bitch too.
They say this speaking about Sherane, convinced that she set K.Dot up to get jumped, when all of a sudden.
Wait, hold up, hey, I see something. Got them niggas. K.Dot, you good? You good?
Yeah, bud, I'm good.
Dave's brother checks to see if everyone's okay, but when he asks Dave,
Hey, you good? Hey, say something.
Hey, these bitch niggas killed my brother.
Dave's name is censored, and as his brother continues to call his name, it becomes clear that Dave's been hurt. The censors also mimic the sounds of a heartbeat monitor.
Hey, you good? Hey, say something.
And with the last bleep, we realize that Dave has passed away. This event signifies a real turning point for K.Dot, as he now more clearly than ever can see the consequences of his actions, literally holding Dave in his hands as he passes away, realizing that now he must change his ways. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst is one song but can be split up into two distinct parts. Sing About Me and I'm Dying of Thirst. The first part, Sing About Me, is told from the perspective of Dave's brother who passed away in a shooting in an interlude of swimming pools, and Keisha's sister. And if you don't know who Keisha is, she originates on Section 80 track Keisha's song, Her Pain. It was a true story telling the traumatic events that led to her taking on a life of prostitution and eventually being murdered. The first song starts off with minimal production, which stands out like a sore thumb compared to the cinematic feel of every other song on this album. It signifies to us that this track is heavily rooted in K.Dot's storytelling. The steady drum sample used has always sounded like a train chugging through the song to me, not necessarily stopping for anyone or anything. Then the chorus starts.
When the lights shut off and it's my turn to settle down, my main concern.
K.Dot sets the tone with a question. When it's eventually his time to pass away, he only has one request.
Promise that you will sing about me.
Throughout Kendrick's career as an artist, he's essentially told stories of the otherwise anonymous and immortalized them rather than these people passing away in vain. K.Dot wonders if someone will do the same for him. He's not worried about how much money or how much fame he'll have, but rather if his legacy will live on through his music. The first verse is a continuation of the interlude at the end of Swimming Pools and is told now from the perspective of Dave's brother. Dave has been killed and now Dave's brother is going to go out for revenge, but before he does, he speaks to K.Dot and tells him how much he appreciated the love that K.Dot had for Dave.
I woke up this morning and figured I'd call you in case I'm not here tomorrow. I'm hoping that I can borrow a peace of mind. I'm behind on what's really important.
Dave's brother, who I'm going to just start referring to as DB, is speaking to K.Dot, and when he does, he prefaces what he's about to say with the fact that this might be their last time speaking. When DB says he wants to borrow a peace of mind, it's a double entendre. Peace of mind means he's looking for absence means of mental stress, and peace of mind referring to borrowing K.Dot's rational decision-making skills.
I know exactly what happened. You ran outside when you heard my brother cry for help. Held him like a newborn baby and made him feel like everything was alright in a fight he tried to put up.
DB saw everything go down. K.Dot running out of the car in a shootout and holding Dave until he died.
But the type of bullet that stuck had went against his will. Last blood spill on your hands.
Even though there was nothing he could do to save him, K.Dot made him feel like everything would be alright in his last moments of life.
My plan's rather vindictive. Everybody's a victim in my eyes. When I ride, it's a murderous rhythm.
DB said this before. His mind is distorted. With the death of his brother, he doesn't care who pays, but as long as somebody pays.
A demon glued to my back, whispering, get him, I got him, and I ain't give a fuck. That same mentality I told my brother not to duck.
All this negative energy has manifested into a demon on his back, a demonic force telling him to kill with this shoot to kill and I don't give a fuck mentality. He then points out the irony of the situation because this exact same mentality that got Dave killed. DB then reminisces on his childhood and how innocent and carefree he was, wearing dun-dun-dun underwear and pajamas. But growing up in Compton, he feels like there's no hope for him, saying,
thunder comes, it rains, cats and dogs, dumb niggas like me never prosper. Prognosis of a problem child, I'm proud and well devoted.
He's saying dumb niggas as in a stupid amount and dumb niggas in the literal sense. He describes how he feels he's literally the prognosis of this, meaning illness of negativity and death was bound to him from the start. And the way these lines are delivered feels like DB is literally hissing at him. The more DB thinks about everything, the angrier he gets. Just because he feels like he's bound for this destiny doesn't mean that he has to be happy with his fate.
This Pyru shit been in me forever, so forever I'ma push it wherever, whenever.
Gang life is the only thing DB has ever known. Even though he just spoke to K.Dot about his realization with this lifestyle and seeing how it ended for his brother, he's still gonna keep gangbanging until the end. These lines show how deeply ingrained gang culture was for young men growing up in Compton, not being able to change even if they wanted to. He then leaves K.Dot with a final note before he goes off.
And I love you cause you love my brother like you did. Just promise me you tell this story when you make it big. And if I die before your album drop, I hope.
The sudden gunshots signify he did die before the album dropped, so this is K.Dot fulfilling his last wish. It's interesting that the gunshots are fired at the moment DB speaks of hope. This could add to the theme of hopelessness K.Dot, DB, and everyone else growing up in Compton felt, and illustrates how easily violence can destroy hopes and dreams. It's also worth noting that the train-like steady beat continues on regardless of the gunshots, whereas on other tracks like Mad City, the beat pauses for emphasis on the gunshots. The second verse is from the perspective of Keisha's younger sister, telling K.Dot about how mad she is for talking about Keisha on his project Section 80. She's living the same life as her sister, a prostitute, and she's proud of what she does.
You wrote a song about my sister on your tape and called it Section 80. The message resembled Brenda's got a baby.
She's upset because she feels that her sister Keisha was being judged in an unfair way. This is also because she's working as a prostitute herself, and in turn she feels judged just like her sister.
How could you ever just put her on blast and shit, judging her past and shit? Well, it's completely my future. Her nigga behind me right now asking for ass and shit.
When she says it's completely my future, her nigga behind me right now, the word behind is important because it implies that she's being pushed towards this future rather than walking into it willingly. Just as we saw DB follow Dave's path, we now see Keisha's sister pushed in the same direction as Keisha. A harsh picture of how she makes her money is then painted in almost this braggadocious way.
I'm married man and father of 3. My titties bounce on the cadence of his tingling keys. Matter of fact, he my favorite cause he tipped me with ease.
There's a homophone used when she says tipped with ease. Ease meaning she's tipped with ecstasy instead of money, which brings her mind to ease. But this is obviously flawed because without money, then she can never get out of her situation.
He got a cousin named David and I seen him last week.
When she says this, she could be referring to Dave, K.Dot's friend. She goes on to explain how this life was forced on her.
See, my hormones just run away, and if I can get them back to where they used to be, then I'd probably be in the denim of a family gene that show women how to be women.
Using the word genes referring to DNA and pronouncing it like jeans that you wear. This line connects denim to a family gene, basically saying that if she was cut from a different cloth where she had love and support, she would have learned how to respect her body. But now she's too far gone, and she describes this by saying,
then you probably need to beat her. That's how I was taught. 3 niggas in 1 room. First time I was tossed.
This cynical line shows the cloth that she was cut from and how she was taught how to be a woman.
And I'm exhausted, but fuck that sorry for your lost shit. My sister died in vain, but what point are you trying to gain if you can't fit the pumps I walk in?
She's saying she doesn't want nor need K.Dot to apologize for the life that she was forced into, and if he can't relate to her struggle, then she doesn't want any criticism or advice. It's also at this point where her tone starts to get angrier and more forceful, just like how Dave's Brothers was on the first verse.
I'll wait. Your rebuttal a little too late.
This line is important, but we're gonna have to revisit it on the third verse. Here she's speaking about her life again, either trying to prove to K.Dot or to herself that she's good with her lifestyle.
And a matter of fact, did I mention that I physically feel great? A doctor's approval is a waste of time, I know I'm straight.
Her dismissing the importance of a doctor has this underlying theme of lying to herself, being in denial about not just her health, because she just said that she was exhausted a couple lines earlier, but also being in denial about her being content with her lifestyle.
I probably live longer than you and never fade away. I'll never fade away. I'll never fade away. I know my fate and I'm on the
Keisha's sister says she's so good with her clients that she'll always be remembered rather than people remembering K.Dot for Good Kid, M.A.A.d City. But the song contradicts their statements as her lyrics are literally fading away as the verse ends. The end to the verse contrasts the ends of Dave's Brothers verse, which was abrupt from a gunshot. Instead, Keisha's sister fades away slowly, most likely from HIV or some other illness that she never bothered to get checked. All the while the steady train-like instrumental doesn't miss a beat. The third verse of the track is now the perspective of K.Dot as he contemplates these conversations and his own morality.
Sometimes I look in the mirror and ask myself, am I really scared of passing away?
He speaks on how he wants to be accepted into heaven, or if he's even earned the right to be there in the first place. K.Dot, still in front of this mirror, describes how it's getting harder to look at himself because he doesn't like the person that he's becoming.
And every day that glass mirror get tougher to watch. I tie my stomach in knots.
K.Dot finds himself addressing the things Dave's brother and Keisha's sister said to him in the song.
Saying you're right, your brother was a brother to me.
He says it's validating what DB said to him in the first verse and making sure his story gets told.
And your sister's situation was the one that put me in a direction to speak on something that's realer than the TV screen.
K.Dot says this to Keisha's sister so she doesn't assume he's putting Keisha on blast and judging her choices that she was forced to make, but instead saying that it inspired K.Dot to do the music that he's doing now. Real music, music that can shine in the dark.
By any means wasn't trying to hold Finn to come between.
But this rebuttal was too late, like Keisha's sister said in the second verse of the song, and she doesn't hear his explanation.
I'll wait. Your rebuttal a little too late.
K.Dot obviously tells her story still because he feels that it will save generations of people running into the same situations.
Cursing the life of 20 generations at the hurt soul. Exactly what'd happen if I ain't continue rapping or steady being distracted by money, drugs, and 4 5s. I count lives all on these songs.
When K.Dot says being distracted by money, drugs, and 4 5s, he's referring to a gun, saying he wouldn't be rapping and telling their stories because he'll be too involved in the streets. But there's a pause when he pronounces 4 5s. Then he says, I count lives on these songs. And there's 5 characters in the song. Dave, Dave's brother, Keisha, Keisha's sister, and K.Dot. 5 lives. And this could be a reach, but 4 times 5 is 20, and that could be a reference to the 20 generations whose lives were being previously cursed in the lines.
Fighting for your rights, even when you're wrong, and hope that at least one of you think about me when I'm gone.
All these songs are dedicated to people who K.Dot knew that either suffered or died. He recognizes this, fights for them, and tells their stories even if they were wrong. This leads him back to his original question if anyone will sing about him when he's gone.
Am I worth it? Did I put enough work in?
In the first verse of the song, Dave's brother wants his story to be told by K.Dot. In the second verse, it shows Keisha's sister being upset at him for telling their story and doesn't want to be talked about anymore. This leaves K.Dot asking himself if he's worthy about being written in a song or not, questioning if he's worthy of the same honor, worthy of having a legacy. The second part of the song, Dying of Thirst, opens with Chaos homies talking after Dave has been killed, plotting the revenge when DB snaps.
I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of fucking running. I'm tired of this shit. My brother,
On the second part of the song, the beat switches from the steady drum sample to a more chaotic sample, mimicking the act of running. All the while, there's these haunting background vocals, giving this impression of fear.
Tired of running, tired of hunting, my own kind, but retiring nothing.
K.Dot says this out of exhaustion from the never-ending cycle of violence he's been forced into.
I know I'm good at dying of thirst, dying of thirst, dying of thirst.
K.Dot knows his sins and actions he's been a part of has been tearing him away from a higher power. Saying he's dying of thirst is a metaphor for his conscious neglect of God and represents his thirst of water or yearning to be baptized.
The same song, a black flower, I show you how to die your thirst, die your thirst, die your thirst.
He's saying that he should turn his negatives into positives, using the words die and die interchangeably.
Money, pussy, and greed, what's my next crave? Whatever it is, no, it's my next grave.
Throughout this story, K.Dot has shamelessly dived into his vices of sex and money. Although he's been relatively lucky, he knows that his next vice would likely put an end to his luck and lead to an untimely death. So, as a last resort, he says,
so hop in that water and pray that it works.
There's a small sense of cynicism in this last line of the song because K.Dot himself doesn't even know if this will work, but he's so desperate at this time he'll do anything and just hope for the best. We cut back to K.Dot and his homies figuring out how they're gonna get their revenge when they're interrupted by an elderly lady.
Fuck, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of fucking running. I'm tired of this
talk
shit.
to me.
My brother, homie.
Is that what I think that is? I know that's not what I think that is. Why are you so angry? See, you young men are dying of thirst.
The elderly lady, played by m.A.A.d, reveals to them that they're dying of thirst and they need to take a new path and let Jesus into their lives. She then leads them into a prayer, which is a rendition of the sinner's prayer, the same prayer heard in the beginning of the album.
Lord God, I come to you a sinner.
Lord God, I come to you a sinner.
And I humbly repent for my sin.
It's at this moment where K.Dot sheds his hood mentality and starts embarking on a more enlightened life as Kendrick Lamar. It's also important to note that the conversation with this woman occurs shortly after Dave dies and before DB decides to take revenge. So this means that chronologically, Dave's brother couldn't be stopped from following the path of revenge that got him killed, despite the old lady's intervention and his conversation with K.Dot. This is symbolic of how faith can't always save you.
All right now, remember this day, the start of a new life, your real life.
After reciting the sinner's prayer, K.Dot has this overwhelming feeling of rejuvenation that takes over him.
I do what I want to. I say what I want to say. When I feel and die.
These lines set him free from the shackles of peer pressure K.Dot has been chained to throughout the entire album. There's a major theme of self-love portrayed through this track. He starts off with the feminine perspective that he sees.
And your plans only can pan around love. You love him, you love them, you love her. You love so much, you love when love hurts.
He says this describing how some women will obsess over finding love in order to fill a void in their heart caused by past experiences. He then goes on to explain how some women would try to find love through materialism.
You love red bottom and gold that say queen. You love handbag on the waist of your jean. You love French tip and trip that pay for. You love bank slip that tell you he paid more.
He then ends the verse explaining that unfortunately none of that will matter if they never learn to love themselves first.
But what love got to do with it when you don't love yourself?
The second verse is from the masculine perspective that K.Dot sees.
And love them and love when you love her. You love so much, you love when love hurts. You love fast cars and their president's old. You love fast women, you love keeping control.
He basically explains the same tropes that women go through is what men go through, but under a different filter, swapping materialism with power. And once again, it won't matter until you find love from within.
You love your hood, might even love it to death, but what love got to do with it when you don't love yourself?
In the third verse of the song, we hear K.Dot's perspective specifically as he explains he is the same.
I love so much, I love when love hurts. I love first verse cause you're the girl I attract. I love second verse cause you're the homie that packed.
At this point, K.Dot attempts to break down why he's stuck in these dead-end loops, even if he understands them.
But what love got to do with it when I don't love myself to the point I should hate everything I do love? Should I hate living my life inside the club? Should I hate her for watching me for that reason? Should I hate him for telling me that I'm seasoned?
K.Dot is questioning whether he should hate the things he loves because they're not real. They're merely an extension of his desire to love material objects and fill the void by not loving himself. The two people in the first verses are symbolic of what he loves, but also the things that's been holding him back this whole time.
I hating the fact none of that shit make me real.
At this point, K.Dot checks his phone and sees another voicemail left by his dad, who gives him some timely advice.
Gang, I ain't tripping up them dominoes no more. Just call it. Sorry to hear what happened to your homeboy, but don't learn the hard way like I did, homie. Any nigga can kill a man. That don't make you a real nigga. Real is responsibility. Real is taking care of your motherfucking family. Real is God, nigga.
K.Dot's dad is urging him not to fall into the bitter trap of retaliation. He then hands the phone to his mom.
Look, the neighbor said they think you and your little friends over there about food for less and preaching to you. I was telling you about the good book, but right about now, that's what y'all need.
After his mom tells him to just be safe and get the car back to the house, K.Dot is then left to think about his experiences and embark on his journey to enlightenment, ultimately becoming Kendrick Lamar.
Everybody's every nigga new place for Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar.
The transformation from K.Dot to Kendrick Lamar in Good Kid, m.A.A.d City symbolizes the journey of self-discovery and the realization of one's purpose. And I feel like that's what makes this album, this story, this amazingly written short film so universally understood. Not only because it speaks to innate good kid or inner child in all of us, but because eventually everyone has a m.A.A.d city they must face, navigate, and elevate from.
Snap his passport, you get official stamp.
Kendrick Lamar may not have realized it at the time, but the notion of a m.A.A.d city represents more than just the harsh realities of growing up in Compton. It represents the challenging and often chaotic environment that we as individuals find ourselves in all the time, even if they might not be as physically harsh. It could be overcoming addiction or escaping an abusive relationship. Someone's m.A.A.d city could even look like struggling with self-doubt and insecurities. Personally, for me, it's navigating my battle with depression and mental health. Whatever it is for you, you must navigate these trials and tribulations of life as we encounter experiences, temptations, and when we hear the story of K.Dot's evolution into Kendrick Lamar, it serves as a reminder that we all have the capacity to evolve and embrace our true, authentic selves to the fullest. So whenever you feel like you've been beaten down by life, whenever you feel like you're in a hopeless situation, in a tunnel so deep and dark, you don't even know if you're walking in it or you're walking out of it, dare to embrace that moment. Dare to have peace of mind, because they might step on your neck and get blood on their Nike checks. But don't mind it, because one day they'll respect the Good Kid, m.A.A.d City.